Gather round. I'm going to tell you a story about the fantasy basketball waiver wire. Is it spooky? I don't know. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and currently I sit 14th on Hoops Hype's global rating with a 20.72 rating. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, on Blue Sky at joshlloyd.bsky.social, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel and get $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com for the newsletter for your favorite team. Check it out. And double bang, of course, on this video and this audio, and listen to both and watch both and thumb up and leave all of your comments. They're all very, very good and very helpful, and I love them, and I'm sure they're going to be great. Always, always. All right, we're talking fantasy basketball waiver wire. We're going to talk about 40 names or so. Here, I will cover, I hope, all of the names that you want to hear about. If I don't, I apologize. You can leave a name down in the comments below. I'm not going to just do 200 names every show, as you're well aware. And we try and cover most of these situations and try and cover most of the available players for different league styles and types. And yes, that is you, Mr. I am in the most competitive league in the world. So sorry, I'm so sorry that all the players that you talk about are already taken, Josh. And it's just I'm well ahead of everybody. And you get eaten alive if you're in my league. I'll have a name for you, Mr. Super Competitive, and we'll see whether you've got him or not. I'm sure you have, because you're competitive. Let's talk about the waiver wire. Let's see what's been going on. Let's see what people have been up to. What have they been pushing through? What have they been looking at? The most added players over the last different timeframes. On Basketball Monster, I use a 48-hour window, and the two most added players there are Charlotte big man legend Moussa Diabate and Bulls superstar Patrick Williams. Diabate has got double-digit rebounds now in 4 consecutive games. And while BDNR, Nick Richards, and Mark Williams are out, Diabate is fine. Now, Diabate started the season playing like 10 minutes a night. Didn't really do anything. Didn't do anything for a long period of time. And then when Miles Bridges went out, they had to use him because Grant Williams was playing the 4, and he played really well. And now Bridges is back. Grant Williams is playing more at the 4. A little bit at 5 still. Taj Gibson out of the rotation. Diabate is playing really well. That's great. Right, we talked about him, I think last Sunday it was, in terms of streaming in for rebounds. I didn't think he'd be this consistently good. I didn't think we'd get 27 minutes a night at a Diabate, but it does scream short to... You know what it screams? You ready for a 2-year callback? Omer Yurtseven. Oh, Spo, just play them together. Bam and Omer together. That's the best front court they got. That's what they're going to do. Still, it's going to happen. Don't worry. I've got Omer. It's long-term value. Oh, Bol Orlando. He's the best player. He's He's going to keep doing this. I don't see any reason why any of this is going to stop. Just look what he's doing, Josh. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're on about. Bol's going to cook all year long. Feels a little bit like that. He's been really good. We're not taking it away from Diabate, but I do find it hard to believe that if Mark Williams is back, I say if tongue-in-cheek, but only a little bit, not the full tongue-in-cheek, just a little bit. When Mark Williams returns or when BDNR is back, is Diabate playing 5 minutes? Are they going to do a full 3-center split? Is Diabate going to play the 4? Seems unlikely, because that would mean that Miles Bridges and Grant Williams don't. Seems unlikely. So for now, it's great. Love it. Do it. Long term, just be cautious. Also, be very cautious about Pat Williams. He's been really good. He is a must-roster player. It is amazing to me that I'm saying this. And you go and dig into the numbers, and someone said, yeah, just Josh, you always caution about this, about looking at hot shooting, it's going to cool off. And he said, Pat Williams is shooting really well, and it'll cool off. And I said, that's probably true. I went and looked. Pat Williams is shooting, I think, 42% from 3. I think he shot 41 last season and like 39.9 the year before. So while he's shooting well, It's not that different. And I don't think that he's a good shooter because he's not a high volume guy, but in terms of the percentages, it's actually not that different. It's about the same. What he's doing is just playing more minutes. He's generating steals at a higher rate. He's rebounding pretty well. He's just doing enough. I don't think it's going to last. But if I had to prioritize between these two players, Williams and Diabate, Williams has got by far, the more value long term. In the short term, Diabate will be better. Long term, Williams. Unless Mark Williams and Nick Richards remain silent, which of course is possible. On Yahoo, the two most added players are very, very similar. It's Donovan, Clingan, and Robert Williams. People are just splitting the diff, I guess. DeAndre Ayton with his finger sprain. I expect that Clingan will start, but will Clingan be 31 minutes and Rob 17? Will Clingan be 20 minutes and Rob 28? I don't know. I think using both of them is totally reasonable because last game, Clingan, amazing. No Williams, no Ayton. The game before, Williams, amazing. Clingan, mid, no Ayton. And now, it's the dueling replacement centers. I think that Clingan is the better longer-term guy here. But Williams, I think... I don't even know if Williams is a better per-minute guy. He probably is. Honestly, I can't... I don't know how to split these guys in this scenario because I just don't know what Chauncey Billups is going to do. And then on Fantrax, which uses a 7-day waiver period, their most added player is Jared McCain. Yes, and he should be added. Jared McCain, I do firmly believe now, will start for a long period of time. Because, as you're well aware, not sure if you've heard me say this, Kelly Oubre's bad. 4 years on of me saying this, he's bad. He's not good. And he's been benched. So they kept Kyle Lowry in the starting lineup alongside Jared McCain and benched Kelly Oubre. And remember last season, Oubre was a bench player until injuries struck and then he had to start. This idea that Nick Nurse has loved it, he's bad. He is just bad. All right? I don't know why people love him or why people think he's good. He's bad. He remains bad, Kelly Oubre. This is the last I'll say about Kelly Oubre being bad for today. But he's bad. As for Jared McCain, love what he's doing. He had really good usage last game as well, even with Embiid and George there. There's a lot that he's doing that just is not going to hold. It's not. He won't continue to have that level of usage when Maxey is back. It is actually impossible. He won't do it. He won't shoot as well as he's done. He's a very good shooter. He won't do that. He won't shoot like that. He won't shoot at that volume. He won't shoot his mid-ranges like that. He won't shoot his threes at that way. Look, there is easy 10 percentage point drops potentially in certain areas. But I love what he's doing. The thing you have to watch about what McCain is doing and your long-term viability on it is that if we're not at 30 usage with whatever it's 67 true shooting or whatever it is, he's actually not doing anything else. And that's where you can run into problems where, yeah, you can... I've seen insane comments about him already. This guy's already a star. He's better than Paul George. Okay. Maybe. But also definitely not. So we all need to sort of just calm ourselves a bit. The last 4 games, McCain's averaging 28 points. It's amazing. On 32 usage. Last game with Embiid and George there, his usage went down to 29. Still really good. But you know what he did in that game? Hit 50% of his threes and 71% of his twos and had 1 rebound. No steals, no blocks, had 4 assists. And now we've got to add Tyrese Maxey back onto that. So yeah, Jared McCain is very good to add right now. Absolutely. The likelihood of this maintaining anywhere close to these numbers is as close to 0 as you get. Come back to me on this in 3 weeks' time. And if I'm wrong, I want Jared McCain to be good. I like Jared McCain. I was relatively high on him in the draft. No, actually, you know what? I was exactly the same high on where he went. I had him at number 16. I worried a little bit about his size, and I worried about the fact that in college, he'd never generated assists ever. And he's been able to do that at a better rate, albeit in that game where everyone was out. His other assist games were, in the games he's played 30 minutes, 2, 2, 2, 10, 4. So he's a scorer who is shooting the lights out. And I love that for him. I love that for you. The other most added player is Leaky Beasley. And yeah, as long as Tim Hardaway is out, Malik Beasley has a 12-team roster spot. That is it. And then when Hardaway is back, he moves back into a stream guy that you just flip a coin to see whether he's going to be good or not. And you never know the answer, unfortunately. We're going to come back and talk about the most dropped. We're going to talk about must-roster players. We're going to talk about injury fill-ins. We're going to talk about a bunch of other names, hot players. Shout out to Kelly Oubre. And we'll talk about more of that stuff in a sec. But today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. It is the month of gratitude. It is the month of thanks. Of course, Thanksgiving is coming up for those of you who live in the United States. And maybe it's time that you take a moment to say thanks and give a shout out or show gratitude to someone in your life who's been helpful. But one of those people that you might be looking to thank that you never do is yourself. Now, say, giving yourself a self, I'm not sure if BetterHelp would allow me to say the word that I'm going to say, but a self congratulations is not something we're all comfortable with. But we do have to, that ridiculous phrase that gets used, is anyone going to love you unless you love yourself? It's a little bit true, right? If you don't think highly of yourself or you don't have confidence in what you do or appreciate the things you've been able to do, it is hard to exude that or even give that to other people. Show that gratitude to yourself and to someone else in your life as well. And therapy can be a way of helping to unlock and break the barriers in your life that maybe stops you from realizing your full potential. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Okay. All right, we're back now to talk about it. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm reading like ads, I try to be funny and try to make it so it's interesting, but also get the key points across. But I don't know what they allow me or don't allow me to say, so sometimes I just don't say it. What I want to say is, maybe we're not all comfortable giving ourselves a self-reach around, but sometimes we are. And that's where we maybe land. Who knows? Let's talk about the most dropped players across fantasy basketball leagues on Basketball Monster. It is D'Anthony Melton and, yes, John Armstrong.
Get that garbage out of here!
Yeah, love him, but minutes were always going to be a problem, and now he has a sprained ACL, and he's out of here. So, see you later. And then the second most dropped player, which I'm a little surprised about, is Goga Bitadze. Now, one of our new phrases on this show this season is the old STPLTG, short-term pain, long-term gain. Sometimes, Goga is playing well, right? He's playing well. I wouldn't say he's blowing the bloody doors off, but he's playing well. He's doing good things. It's a little inconsistent. But we saw Wendell Carter get upgraded to doubtful today. That means his return is coming along. And even if you don't think that Goga gets taken out of the rotation entirely, they're not going to stop playing Wendell. They're not going to stop playing Mo Wagner. So Goga's minutes are going to come down and he's going to become useless for 12-team leagues. So if there is a hot free agent appearing and how you view that player that you think is a must-add, maybe it is Jared McCain, maybe it is Moussa Diabate, right? Might be one of those players. Might be somebody else that's on this show. And you go, well, yeah, Goga's good, but that might last 2 more games. Well, drop him. Who cares? If you need to drop him, you drop him. Because I don't think that's a long-term thing for Goga. And while on the surface and everything, well, why would you drop him? He's playing well. Yeah, because we've got to have more of a view that isn't just, what about tomorrow? And that tomorrow is important, but you got to look a little bit further. Now, when we get to the fantasy playoffs, like tomorrow is it. That's where we get, right? It's tomorrow. It's the next day. That's it. Now, at November the 18th, yes, it's the 18th, you can have a little bit more of a longer-term view. So that's why I'm going to guess that Goga's dropped. Now, I've got no problem with that being a move that people made. The 2 most dropped players on Yahoo, I actually didn't expect to see this. Well, actually, one of them is the horse Keldon Johnson, who is a clear drop. Easy. I didn't think that Yahoo users would drop him that way because they always seem to have an infatuation with what Keldon brings. And he joins my Kelly Oubre all-star list of players that are bad and have been bad and continue to be bad. He's not getting minutes. I remember getting into arguments with people in the offseason about Keldon Johnson who just penciled him in as a Spurs starter this season. It's like, yeah, I haven't watched the Spurs for 3 years. He's not going to start. He's bad. Get him out of here. And the other one is Stephon Castle, which I'm actually more surprised that people are moving off of Castle. It's not wrong. Castle has shown flashes, and for some reason he feels like the player who always gets the excuse or the benefit of the doubt from people. Oh, Castle was really good today. 12 points, 33% shooting, 4 assists and a steal. Oh, he's coming. Is he? Is he? He's fine. He's been okay. But I wouldn't say he's been dominating or anything like that. He might become good. I don't know. I don't have the faith in him, but that's okay. He might not become good. That's also okay. He's shown a couple of little flashes, but overall, in this period where players have been out, Sohan and Vassell in low minutes, he's been like barely rosterable. So if you needed to move off of him to grab like a returning Bogdanovic, which is happening now, and yes, you 100% would make that move every day of the week, then do that. Castle, I don't think is going to push into this high usage, high assist, high efficiency role at any point this season, unless they're just multiple injuries strike. He could, if they're really bad, and they're not that good, in like... Oh, by the way, Keldon Johnson, according to Hoops Hype Global Rating, is the 93rd best player in the NBA. Cool. Steph Castle, maybe Chris Paul is hurt or traded and they pack things in and he's just running 27 usage because everyone's out and he does it on 40% shooting. That might happen. We are a long way from that. The two most dropped players on Fantrax, just easy ones.
Get that garbage out of here.
It's two Pelicans. It's Jose Alvarado. It's Jordan Hawkins. They're hurt. They're not going to have roles when players return, so you couldn't jack anything any easier than that. Now, when I do the must roster segment of the show, we look at it, and I'm not going to tell you. It's a hard thing to always define, and yeah, it's hard. So I'm looking at the next 2 weeks of guys that I see sitting available in a lot of different spots that just shouldn't be. They're available in over 70% of Yahoo leagues, but I'm only putting 2 names on this list. There are other names that you can consider, well, this guy should be rostered, and this guy should be rostered. And yeah, they should. But there's always going to be like conflicting scenarios of like, oh, but I wouldn't drop this player, therefore in my league he doesn't play, or whatever it is, right? But I think that if Peyton Watson and Shaedon Sharpe are sitting on your waiver wire for the next like 2 week period, they just shouldn't sit on any waiver wires. Simons is dealing with an illness, so he might miss some more games. Sharpe is getting more minutes, he's scoring. I'm not sure of his long-term value, but as long as Simons keeps missing, Sharpe's value rises. And as long as Aaron Gordon is out, Peyton Watson's going to play 30, 32, 35, 39 minutes. He's going to block shots. He'll get some steals. He'll have some iffy shooting nights, absolutely. But they just should be on rosters for this short period of time, and they're not. They're very lowly rostered. Therefore, I put them here. Now, you could say, well, yeah, there's a lot of other must-roster players. That is true, Josh. Yeah, Luka Doncic is a must-roster player. You could throw any like it. Look, Jared McCain's a must-roster player, but our advanced metric on Basketball Monster says 92%. Cool. All right, not going to tell you that. I've already talked about him as well. These are just guys that sit there and go, oh, these numbers are very low. They're very low. So just have a look. Have a look if they're there. Have a crack. Short term, I think it works. On the flip side of this, when we talk droppable, very, very cautious of the terminology again. Drop a bull. Do not drop them. You don't have to drop them. I'm not telling you to drop them. But I'm saying that if they're on your roster and you want to make a move, an STP, LTG, then consider it. Yves Missi. Everyone's out. He's playing 27 minutes a night, and he's completely mid. He's not blocking shots. He scores like 8 points, 9 points, and gets like 8 rebounds, 9 rebounds, which is fine. But what's the point of that? Is he all of a sudden going to turn into a 17 and 12 guy with 3 blocks? Almost zero chance. The other thing with him is I hate his fit with Zion. I haven't actually looked at the numbers. I don't know how much they've played together. You know what? That might be a good idea to pause this show and actually go check that out. All right, the magic of podcasting / YouTubing, we're back, and I did look at those numbers. They've only played 68 minutes together, Zion and Missi, and they're in negative 13 net rating, which is obviously horrid. And Missi's usage during that time is 12%. So yeah, I hate the fit with him and Zion, and I think when Zion returns, we'll see Missi playing under 20 minutes a night. So if you need to move on, do it. I've got a few Grizzlies here. Santi Aldama, Scott Pippen, Marcus Smart, I didn't put on that list, but he's there as well. They're getting players back. Des Bane is back. Vince Williams is back. Jar is still a little bit of time away, but GG Jackson's coming back later. But honestly, GG's probably going to play 0 minutes. Right? But those other guys are back, and we already saw Aldama, not very good, and minutes dropped. Scottie Pippen, he will not start really soon. Right? He's moving to a smaller role, and with these guys, I would definitely hold Pippen over Aldama. But again, it's about what are you doing long term? Do you need to make a switch of someone who might have more value for 3 weeks? Because I don't think Pippen will. Pippen's been very good, but remember who was out. Vince, Bane, Morant. They're all out. 2 of them are back. Smart, he was out. He's back. Not saying he's good. I wouldn't hold him either. He'll have some streaming ability, like back and forward, up and down, that sort of stuff. But there's too many guys on that team. And I just don't think that we need to have iron grips on those players that we have to hold them. I've got Ochai Agbaji there. He's been a very good feeling with Scotty Barnes out. I think Barnes comes back this week. I don't know that for sure, but what I do know with Barnes is that we're not talking about a hamstring, an ankle, a knee. We're not talking about a ligament that needs to be tested and warmed up and conditioned. He's got a broken face. And that's a bad injury. It's a terrible injury. He's got a mask on. It appears like he's back this week. And as soon as he is back, we won't have setbacks, most likely. Abaji will go back to the bench. He'll play 22 minutes a night and be 100% useless. So again, if we're wanting to make an early switch, STPLTG, you can do it. I don't know what to do with John Kuminga. He'll have the one good game and you go, oh, look at that. There we go. It's happening. And then he has 2 points in 18 minutes. And honestly, the fact that the floor is that low and the highs aren't even that high means you don't hold on to him. Or, sorry, again, rephrase, you don't have to hold on to him. And I would throw him with almost anyone on that team, those bench players. Podziemski and Hield get the bump now that Melton is out, and they'll go from maybe 21 minutes to 27. And that makes them a little bit more useful. But they'll just throw, as you saw, Lindy Waters and Gary Payton and Moses Moody into that mix, making it still really frustrating. So I would hold Hield over Kuminga. Podziemski's a tough one. He's sort of borderline. But I think they're all, in the right circumstance, move onable from, which would say droppable. The last name there is Jabari Smith Jr. Is it last game where he had a monster? Yeah, he was big. And then, again, that's great. But what about every other game? It's good that he's got that ability to do it. And if you want to hold on to him, if you're in a 14 team, I probably would. But in 12s or 10s, you get one big game. That's fantastic. Good for you. We love this. We're 4 weeks in. We've had 2 good games. That is not a must for us to play. Now, if you wanted to add him and just see where it goes, no problem. He is a starter, theoretically, who's been benched for like 5 consecutive games until last game, and just plays 26 minutes. But he's a starter, so if he gets hot, and coaches will do this, and this is the advantage of starting. People say, it doesn't matter if you start, if you close, or anything. The advantage of starting is that if you start the game out well, you have got more of a chance of pushing into big minutes. If you are a reserve and the guy in front of you starts well, you don't even get a chance to play more minutes, even if you're playing well, because the guy in front of you's already got that head start. It's like the what's in front of my face moment, and coaches love that. It's the Mike Brown. Kevin Huerter hits 7 shots in a row in the first 5 minutes. He's playing 38 minutes. And even if Keon Ellis or Malik Monk come in and they go for 7 with 7 assists in 4 minutes and the team's a plus 40, he'll go, yeah, but look what Huerter did. And Huerter will come back in and he'll do this, right? So that is the advantage of starting. Is having the ability before anyone else gets a crack at it to show that you can be good. And that's what Smith did. That doesn't always hold, but starting does have that advantage, which I think at times gets ignored. It's like, well, Josh Giddey's another one of those. Right? He's been bad, obviously, but if he starts out a game and he's dominating in the first quarter, then he'll play 32 because he's got the advantage of being the first thing the coach sees. And coaches and players and whoever, they always love that. Well, that happened in the quarter before, so therefore it's definitely happening every other quarter. That's how everything works. Well, he's on fire, we might as well let him keep going. It's not always how that works, but that is a mentality that does pervade and persist, so we need to be aware of it. We need to understand and use that in our fantasy discussions. Got some more things to talk about in terms of injury replacement players, hot players, and a bunch of other names as well. But before I do that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place your live bets on the NFL all in one place. You get a hunch, you're watching a game, you see something develop. Maybe you're all about the Philadelphia Eagles, I was going to say 76ers, Eagles. Maybe Nick Sirianni's the guy's name, isn't it? Yeah, and you go, oh, Sirianni's off his game today. He's too busy yelling at somebody in the crowd or whatever it is that he does that gets people upset. And you look at the play-by-play and the stats, and it's all there. You don't have to scramble off to other devices. You don't have to roll out the back at the dial-up modem and that noise running out there just to make sure everything's open. You don't do that. We're not living in that era anymore. You can go out onto that app and everything's in that one spot, place your live bets, and bang, you're off to the races. And if you win that first $5 bet, FanDuel will give you $150 in bonus bets. Easy. Go to FanDuel.com, never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay. Let's go through to the next grouping here. I want to talk about hot players. I was going to make a list of funnies. I was going to put Kelly Oubre on this list. And I was going to say, who are the other most attractive players in the NBA? And I went, you know what? I don't even know how to judge that. And it's subjective, so I won't do that. I won't objectify these men. So let's just do the actual thing and talk about who's been like playing really well over the last week from a head-to-head perspective, more so than points, but whatever. It is relatively similar. And all these guys have been good. So let's talk about whether it makes sense that they're going to continue to be good. Jake LaRavia, who's the 64th ranked player over the last week. Does that make sense? Is he going to be good that good? No. But he has shown an ability that when players are out, he'll be useful. What about the artist formerly known as Taurean Prince? 2 really big games in a row from Prince. I don't know whether he's going to continue to purple rain it down on opponents like that. But while Middleton is out, while Dame is out, while Glenn Rivers is coaching, while Darvin Ham is in the background with the strings, Prince has opportunities. He's not a must-roster player, but he's on a hot streak. And if he's on a hot streak and players are out, he's at least worthy of consideration. I bet you didn't know that old mate Jarris Walker is the 85th ranked player over the last week. It's largely on the back of defensive stats, but the way that I use rankings is I actually downweight the importance of those low volume categories. I'm not sure if you've heard me say that before. Welcome to the show for the first time. But I do. And Walker is still here. And there's still no Neesmith, and there's still no Nembhard. He's going to get his 24 or 25 minutes. He's on the back of some steal numbers, but that's okay. Walker, I believe I added him in in one of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowls, I added him just to see what happens short term. But I don't think it's a must, but the results are there. And the same as the results are there for Dalton Knecht. Now, as you're well aware, I am not the biggest Dalton Knecht fan. I don't think that Dalton Knecht is a future star. I don't think that the Lakers pulled off grand theft larceny by getting him at pick 17. I don't think they did. I think that Dalton Knecht is an older player who was able to put up really good usage numbers at Tennessee by being 23 years of age, and I didn't love the other stuff that he did. Didn't. He didn't also shoot... At his Tennessee, his shooting numbers were fine. They weren't elite. But he is playing well over this short period of time, and I actually think he is worth looking at. I will get my bucket of cold water to pour on all of you Dalton fluffers. But the thing that we got to look at, is so much of it is opportunity, right? You ask yourself this question. Is Rui Hachimura good? Your answer is no. So he's not. But he does have more size than Knecht, and he could continue to start when he returns from this ankle sprain. You go, okay, well, what about the other position? Well, the guy starting there is unequivocally bad, and that's Cam Reddish. Reddish is starting at the 2, and his minutes were well down last game. The thing I will throw out there is Dalton Knecht is a horrific defender. Terrible defender. And the reason Reddish is out there is that he can defend because Rui can't. LeBron can't really. Austin Reeves can't really. And you're going to throw another guy out there who can't really defend and who's more of a 3 than a 2, but he's sort of a guess a 2 a connector. Maybe he's there. And the other thing is, like, what on earth happens with D'Angelo Russell? Does he ever get back into the starting lineup, or is he just done? I am stubbornly holding D'Angelo Russell. I am stubbornly holding him, by the way. And for reference, if I'm going to pour the cold water on Jared McCain, and like again, Knecht's been great. Knecht's playing 32 minutes a night. He's averaged 20 points over his last 3 games. It is possible that he is a 26 to 30 minute a night player rest of season. Absolutely possible. When your opponents in a starting job competition are Rui Hachimura and Cam Reddish, well, you should favour your chances. But he's shooting 64% over the last 3 games. He hasn't missed a free throw all season. He never takes them. He has attempted, guess how many free throws? Guess 8. 8 in 263 minutes. It's really bad. He is shooting 63% on his 3s and 65% on his 2s, and he's averaging 1.7 assists. So, what he is doing has 0 shot of sticking. 0. Absolutely none whatsoever. Not happening. Not holding. Not, oh, but he's receiving the pass from LeBron, so yeah, it's the open. Don't care. Don't care. Doesn't matter. If Steph Curry was receiving the passes from LeBron, he wouldn't be hitting 65% of his 3s. I can assure you. Dalton Knecht will not do this. And the problem with Dalton Knecht, from a fantasy perspective, is he doesn't do anything else apart from score. His usage is not high. It's 17%. And it would, if he continued to start, it would remain low. And you would need him to hit these numbers. So if he didn't hit, let's say he went from 63% down to a manageable 40%. He was a 35% guy in college from 3. He goes down to 40%. So over the last 3 games, he's attempted 6. Is a lot on Knecht, but I think it's important because he's a very buzzy name. 6.3 threes a game over the last 3 games. And if he hits them at 40%, you're talking about 2.5, I believe. Yeah, 2.5 threes a game, which is down from the 4 threes a game he's hitting. So 1.5 threes, which then brings us to 4.5 points lower, which then makes him a 15.5 point per game scorer with 2.5 threes. You go 15.5, 4, and 1.7. And you go, that's fine. And then you can also look at his 2-pointers, which are at 65%. And yeah, he's at 61 for the season. But I think he's probably a mid-50s guy, realistically. So you can knock off from his 5.7 2-point attempts per game, and he's making... How many 2s is he making a game? Can't actually see that number, but that's okay. He's at 65%. So he's making like 3.2 a game. And if we bring that down to 2.2 a game, 1-2 less per game. So that means that 15.5 points becomes 13.5 points. So 30 minutes, 13.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 threes, shooting 48%. You go, okay, that's just complete waiver wire fodder. And that's with the exact same usage, in the same role, in the same minutes. So, as always, go for it. Real chance he starts, really possible. But buyer beware. Watch what you... Not buyer beware, but because at him, I don't care. It's about what do you drop? What have you sacrificed to try and ride a 65% shooting streak? Because you know it won't hold, but you don't always look at that in the buzz of the moment. And then when you wear the yellow and gold, well, the buzz does amplify. Zaire Williams is the 98th ranked player over the last week, which is a little surprising to me. I think Zaire is perfect for a weekly league, roto league, games cap league, deeper bench league. Because they have shown that if someone is out, they will give him more minutes, and he's been very good. I am a little skeptical of his steal numbers and some of his efficiency stuff, and I don't think he's a top 100 player, but there's some short-term value, maybe even with Claxton out. And the last player on this list is someone you got to bring up because it's Delano Banton. There is almost no better. There is, but there's very few players who are better at accumulating stats on a per-minute basis in the NBA than Banton. And Chauncey Billups has been giving this man minutes. And with Anthony Simons out, Banton's getting minutes. He's sometimes playing over Scoot. He's putting up big numbers. So, as at least a streamer, I don't mind Banton. Now, the Blazers are in the midst of a very poor schedule, so I wouldn't say he's a priority there. But he's relatively interesting if Billups is going to use him. Some other injury plays, and I realize I'd already talked about Malik Beasley, so I'll move on from him. But what about the Sacramento Kings, who were playing their starters the most minutes out of basically anybody in the NBA? And 2 of them, Iron Men, who never get hurt, Domantas Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan, are both hurt with similar injuries, back issues. Wonder why that would be. I guess nobody knows or nobody could have foretold this, but anyway. Trey Lyles has been really good the last couple of games, and as long as Sabonis is out, I don't mind using Trey Lyles. He's an enigma, Lylesy. He's inconsistent. He's in a little bit of the PJ Washingtons. Sometimes he'll block 1 shot in a month, and other times he'll block 3 a game. But as long as the opportunities rise with Sabonis out, he's worth looking at. As long as Emmanuel Quickley's out, we're looking at Davion Mitchell. Mitchell is a 6-point per game player. Exaggeration, but is it? Not really. But 6 assists and 2 steals is absolutely possible for Mitchell. And that sort of value is not for everybody, but it's for somebody. And so maybe somebody needs to hear that. And speaking of injury replacements, Ben Shepherd has been absolutely putrid. He has been dreadful in his starting role, replacing either Neesmith or Nembhard, whoever you want to say. And when one of those guys comes back, Shepherd is clearly going to move to the bench. And Mathurin is going to start probably with whoever comes back, and we'll see what happens for there. But these last couple of games have been disgusting for Shepherd. Started 4 games, Ben Shepherd, played 27 minutes a night. He's averaging 4 points. 4 points with 2 assists. But I'll say this. Opportunity is interesting. It's key. The minutes are there. Now, his usage is under 10% in starts, which is ridiculous. And he's shooting 29% and hasn't attempted a single free throw all season. So that's obviously horrendous. Yeah, it's terrible. But there is going to be a game. There is going to be a game where he doesn't shoot 29%, where he hits 40% of his threes, and he gets a couple of extra shots, and he has 13 points, and maybe he even connects and has 20 points with 4 threes on 65% for 3 games. And then we start to go, do we need to herd in Ben Shepherd? Do we need to add him to our flock? I don't know. But he's there. He's starting. The minutes are sort of there, and they could be way better. And you guys in super competitive leagues that everyone's already taken Josh. Why do I bother? I don't even bother with this because they're all taken. Is Ben Shepherd taken? That's not even the name that I was going to talk about. The other one on this list here is Julian Champagny. While Sohan is out and while Devin Vassell still continues to ramp up, and we talked about this, the last 2 years they are incredibly slow in ramping Vassell back up from injury. Incredibly so. Champagny is not a rest of season play. He is a guy that for now you can use, and it'll be 31 minutes some games, it'll be 25 the others, it'll be 14 points, it'll be 2 steals, it'll be 11 points on 30% with a 3, whatever. It's useful enough, but long term it's not going to be there. But for now, it is. Sort of. Barely. And then we get onto the last list of names. And yes, Malcolm Brogdon is returning today. And I'll talk about it more on the recap show later today. I actually don't know what to do with this. I find it... He will not start over Jordan Poole. Let's rule that out. That is not happening. Will they put him in and start him over Bub Carrington? Like, why? They could, because they started Kyle Kuzma over Keyshawn George, which was stupid. Brogdon has the chance to mess up a bunch of things. But I've already seen like people making like insane comments about Brogdon. Someone said, man, I picked him at pick 90. I've been holding him, waiting for this. Can't wait for him to return. Like, what are you talking about? Why? As soon as Brogdon was an interesting guy to draft in the later rounds because we thought that they would start him, play him good minutes early, then he would get hurt or moved on and you drop him. But as soon as he wasn't ready to start the season, it's like, no, undraftable. Absolutely not touching him whatsoever. Because why would you? I have no idea what they're going to do with his minutes. He's a capable player. He's a very capable player. He's a very good player at times. But what is he going to do here? 30 minutes? How? Are they actually going to bench Bub? Maybe. They could. That is possible. If you want to add Brogdon, I'm not going to be against you on it. My logic is fighting against my Wizards. Because the logic suggests he's got to play 25 minutes a night, and then my other part of my brain goes, bro, it's the Wizards. Do you know that they're going to do anything in common sense? Like, probably not. Even though it's a new front office, new coach, same owner. So, I actually don't really understand what to do with Brogdon. I don't think that I'm doing it, but if you're going to do it, fine. I put the cockroach here on this list, Mason Plumlee. You'll say, why? Well, because just as I was preparing this show, the Phoenix Suns announced, unbelievably, that they were starting in today's game, an NBA game that is a real game, Mason Plumlee and Yusuf Nurkic together. Okay. I think this is the second time, yeah, it is, that teams have decided that they're going to go with insane two-center starting combinations to combat Minnesota. And I'll ask this question. Do opposing coaches not know that Karl Anthony Towns doesn't play for Minnesota anymore? They're acting like they're running the two centers out there, Towns and Gobert. They're not. It's Julius Randle and Gobert. The other team was the Kings when they started Sabonis and Alex Len. Len lasted 8 minutes. It did not work. So why are we going with Nurkic and Plumlee to combat Julius Randle? I would love to see how this works out, but if this is something that Budenholzer is going to do, it seems crazy. If you're going to start any other center, start Iguodaro. What? This makes no sense. But if Plumlee's a 27-minute player as a starter, then yeah, he's an ad. But what is actually going on? I don't get it. I know Durant is out. But that's insane to me. I think that Kyle Filipowski is a rest of season ad. He's got some free throw issues. Kessler's ruled out again for today's game. But I also think that even when Kessler's back, I think that the all-white front, that's what. Maybe not the... Don't correlate that with what that sounds like. I mean, all-white front court, the two white guys, Kessler, no, nothing else. Walker Kessler and Kyle Filipowski together. I think that's what they'll go with, and I think John Collins will move back to a bench role. Even Larry Markkanen's in that group. Filipowski can do many different things. Shoot, score, pass, rebound, defend. It's a great combo. He should have gone, I believe, in the lottery of this draft. Fell to the second round for off-court issues. But our mission is to see if we can get more out of Kyle Filipowski. I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen, but he's added in every one of my leagues. He should be. And we'll find out where it goes. Chris Dunn's there. If Dunn is a 28-minute NI player, very clear must-roster player. Don't know if he will be. Last game he played 20 in a weird sort of blowout-y sort of game. But if he starts over Terrence Mann, he's a must-roster player. And then if he gets demoted, you drop him. And I don't know that I have confidence that Dunn will do that all season, and I don't think it matters. Just roster him. The other two names there are the names for the super competitive players who just, they know everything, and diamond level, actually. So, yeah. Jalen Noel is going to get ample opportunities until somebody returns in New Orleans. He'll probably shoot 30%, but he's going to have the chance to get 4 or 5 assists, 17 points, 3 threes, and be annoying, but he's there. Like, he's probably better than Jamal Cain or Javonte Green at the moment. And the one to watch, and I defy you to have this guy rostered anywhere. Brandon Carlson. You'll say, Josh, have you lost your mind? Yes, but Brandon Carlson is a tall, rim-protecting, shooting, white guy center. He originally was on the Raptors as a two-way guy and was cut before the season started, I believe, for Jamison Battle, but that doesn't really matter. And you know where he's signed now? Think about a team that has no centers. Think about a team that has employed a white, shooting, rim-protecting center who may have fractured his hip. Yeah, the Thunder signed him. Not on a two-way. They cut Malevi Leons and they signed Carlson. Now, I don't think that Carlson is going to come out here and blow us away. But they signed him for a reason. To get someone big. And when Usman Jeng and Dylan Jones and bloody, obviously Jalen Williams is your center, and you want some size, the only option, and Kenrich Williams is there, but I don't think he can really do that much, is going to be Carlson. And he is not a 12-team ad. But he is just be alert that Brandon Carlson is signing with the Thunder, and he is a shooting, shot-blocking big man who is, I think, 7 foot tall. And I actually liked what I saw from him in Summer League. So this might be your new Jay Huff. Competitively, guys. Fist bump. That was the worst fist bump. Fist bump. Fist bump. Fist bump. Fist bump. All right. Finish the show off. This has been... This is one of the more unhinged shows I feel like I've done, but that's okay. Who needs hinges? Give it a thumb, double bang, leave your comments. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening and for watching if that's what you're so inclined to do. We are done here. See ya.